G'day students, we've got some new speaking questions that are coming out in September 2023 for part 2 of the IELTS speaking test, and I just want to make a quick video to tell you about these new questions and how you can prepare for them. And this is a kind of freestyle approach. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't, I'm not sure. Leave me a comment if there's something you like about this style of video. Let me know. If there's something you really don't like, I suppose let me know, but be gentle or something like that. I kind of like freestyling sometimes it comes out more natural, more interesting. Some people say I'm funnier when it's freestyling. So first of all, what I suggest you can do is, really my website's probably going to be the best source of these new questions. It's still showing May 23 there, but I am already updating. I've got the part 1 and I've got a separate video on part 1 here right on my webpage. There's a link below in the description. So let me just go through the topics real quick, because I know a lot of people get bored and they skip. So I'll go through the topics real quick, then I'll come back and I'll sort of freestyle some ideas about how to deal with these. Okay, so we've got describe an occasion where you waited a long time for a nice thing. But by the way, when you get your topic card, only the first sentence matters. I don't mean these don't matter, but they're only there to help you. Even though it says you should say, you don't have to say. The examiners are instructed to only focus on this. I know there's somebody there who doesn't believe me. Like, often I say things and then people write in the comments, oh, but my teacher said you must cover all of these questions down here or you'll only get band 5. Well, that's ridiculous anyway. But okay, I'll explain why only this matters. The reason why only this matters and why these are just there to kind of help you is sometimes these points aren't really helpful at all. You know, it could be something like, there's often a question, how do you know this person? And you've already said it's your father. So how do you know your father? Because he's your father, right? So sometimes these points are useful, sometimes they're not. You don't have to cover them all. And I really wish IELTS would change this word should to could, would be a better word, but they don't. But trust me, it's only the first sentence that matters. I'm just going to read these out. So we've got describe a science subject such as biology or robotics that you're interested in. Oh, I wish I could make this bigger though. That's better. Describe a party that you enjoy. Just pause it if you want to read it all. Describe a park or a garden in your city. Describe a painting. Describe a foreigner who speaks your language well. Describe someone you don't know but you would like to know more about. That's a kind of interesting one. Describe a person who likes to cook for others. Describe a place in your country that you are interested in. Describe a photo that makes you feel happy. Describe a rule that is important in your school or work. Describe a period of time that changed your life. Describe an activity that made you feel tired. Ooh, running. Quick. Part 1, there's a new topic about running, and so look for here's my first idea. Look for connections between different parts of the test. If you just prepared something about running and then now you get this topic is a gift, you can talk about running. It makes you feel tired, doesn't it? If it's not making you feel tired, then you're not going far enough and fast enough. You should be like Forrest Gump and just start running. Further down my web page, I've got previous questions. Now, previous questions, I don't know exactly 100%, but I believe that the questions from May onwards are still in the test, and the questions from before that, like December questions, are now out of the test. So anyway, you can look at the previous questions down there, and you shouldn't, if you haven't prepared for the pre-September questions, the May to September, what are you going to do if the examiner comes in with that book? You've seen the book, right? They come in with a book of questions. What are you going to do if they come in with that book? And then all the questions will be foreign to you. You won't know them, right? That'll be a big problem. So don't just prepare for September questions. I have a lot of students like that. If I give them a mock test, they're like, oh, you're asking me questions that aren't from September. That's right. And I tell them, well, it's from May and it's still in the test. And they're like, oh, I only want to do the September ones. Well, great, then you've got a 50% chance of doing well on your test. Good luck, right? So make sure you don't only look at the September ones. But now, in contrast to what I just said, let's now just look at September questions. And I'm just going to throw out a few ideas about how I would prepare. Now, the first thing I would do is fix this to describe. The first thing I like to do is organize all the questions thematically. People, places, things, activities, experiences. And the reason why I do that is because you can see similarities in the questions. So you might get 2 questions about people that are roughly the same. I'll show you what I mean from past questions. So like if we look at the questions about people, a lot of these people questions could be the same, right? It could be the same thing. So describe someone you know who's recently moved to a new place. This person could be the same as this. Well, they could be a popular person. It's Bob from high school. Bob has got so many friends you would not believe. Even most of our classmates from 35 years ago still like to hang out with Bob. He's just so fun. He's just so charismatic, right? And then there's Bob, this charismatic person. He moved somewhere new. He's popular. He likes to help others. He's always trying to help his friends, especially his old friends back from school days. Whenever they have a problem, Bob is the first to lend a helping hand. An old person. Well, I'm old. He's old. If he's not, just say just change, fake him being old, or pick another person. That's fine. Character from a film, probably not Bob. Probably somebody else. These 2 could be the same. Describe a person you met at a party who you enjoyed talking with. Bob. And I could pretend I just met him if I wanted. Describe a friend from your childhood. Bob. Describe a person who inspired you to do something interesting. Bob. What was the interesting thing? This really fascinating. We went snorkeling and we saw lots of fish. Okay. Describe a person who you know who's from a different culture. Bob. He's from Vietnam. Bob Tran. Top guy. Describe a person you know who likes to grow plants. Funny enough, Bob likes to grow plants. Describe a person who dresses fashionably. You're never going to believe this, but Bob is a really fashionable dresser. I think it's the reason why the girls in high school liked him. He always wore Calvin Klein shirts that were the height of fashion at the time. Describe a neighbor you find interesting. It's Bob. There's a joke about bobsleds and Bob. It was something like, I can't remember, but anyway, the punchline was, it's just Bob. There's no sled, he falls out. It's just Bob. Hope I edit this out later, but I might forget. So let's come back to our questions now. Gosh, I've got to scroll up so much. So, like I was saying, step 1, thematicize your questions. Put them into people, places, things, activities, experiences. And the reason one I gave you is because that will help you to see similarities. And instead of having to prepare 10 different people, you just prepare Bob and somebody else, Tom Hanks. something like that, Forrest Gump, whatever you like. Then the other reason why it's great to organize things thematically is you can have thematic vocabulary. So we can have a whole bunch of vocabulary about people, adjectives, introvert, extrovert, idiomatic expressions, early bird, night owl. I've got a video on that, link in the description below. Let me just so I haven't organized these thematically yet. I'm going to wait till they all come in, and then I'll do that more time efficient. But let me just look at some of the topics and just throw out a few ideas off the top of my head. Describe an occasion where you waited a long time for a nice thing. So, I mean, you could focus on the waiting and what you were doing when you were waiting. You could focus on the thing. What was the thing? And describe it. And this is the thing about the thematic language, right? For this topic, I could draw on lots of like I talked about the 5 themes. I can draw on the thing, obviously, the thing. So that's theme, but also maybe experience, the experience of waiting, and maybe activity, what I was doing while I was waiting, and maybe the place where I was waiting, and even the person. Maybe there was somebody waiting with me, or maybe there was a person there, or maybe there was a grumpy old lady behind the counter or something. Actually, it doesn't even have to be a thing, right? Like a nice thing could be it could be service. You could have a massage. That could be a nice thing. Maybe you had to wait a long time. Maybe you got a coupon for a free massage at the mall, and when you went down there, the queue was huge, but it really was a nice massage. It was really relaxing. And then once you got your sort of ideas, you can start brainstorming some of the vocabulary that you're going to be using. If it's a massage, maybe it's a tranquil atmosphere, and maybe there are essential oils, or maybe it's aromatherapy. It could be something like that. Okay, this one, sometimes we have stinky topics, and I think this one's a bit stinky. Not for everybody. If you're a science buff, BUFF, or fan, maybe you're like, oh cool, I get to talk about robots. But for me, actually for me it'd be fine. I'd talk about AI. I know lots about AI. I use ChatGPT more than most people. I use it for work. I use it to give me ideas, vocabulary, model answers, blah blah blah. And just in my general life, it's better than Google. How's that? That should be the slogan for ChatGPT. It's better than Google. So yeah, it's going to depend. I can't really give a fantastic answer on this topic for everybody, because it's going to depend on what you pick. But if you're not really into sciences, you could pick biology, and then you can kind of get into animals and those sort of things. Maybe that's your thing. And then we've got social sciences like psychology. So think kind of broad. Is math a science? Yeah, it kind of is. When you go to university, they divide it into kind of arts and sciences, and so maths is. So I think you can talk about maths, and if you're worried about the examiner having a different interpretation on science than you can just preface your answer. You can say, well, many people don't consider maths to be a science subject, but I do, because it's characterized that way in many universities. So yeah, you better think about this one before. This is one where you wouldn't want to go into the test room and you get this topic and you've never seen it or thought about it before. It could be a disaster. So you want to think about this one, and this is one of the things to do before your test. Go through the questions and identify something that might be stinky for you, and do some extra work on it. If you work on it before you go into the test room, it's probably going to be okay, right? Try and pick something that's close to you and interesting to you. Don't talk about robotics if you're not really into robots. Oh, there's a part 1, new topic, part 1 about robots. You're going to have to prepare for robots anyway, so you might just pick robots for this topic. Well, that's 2 out of 2. We've got robots in part 1 and now robots here. And what was the other one? There was another one. There was running and an activity that makes you feel tired. So always look for crossover. Next one, describe a party you enjoyed. Parties should be really easy. Now you can definitely talk about people because presumably it wasn't a party just for you. Hopefully you didn't have a birthday party and it was only you, but you had a cake and you sang happy birthday to me. So there should be people, there should be a place, there could be gifts, there could be food. There's a plethora of things to talk about for this. So you shouldn't have to be like going on Google, oh, what's some vocabulary for a party? You can just recycle vocabulary that you've already got for people, places, things, activities. Maybe there's music. Another topic for part 1, music. So you could talk about music. My favorite genre is EDM. So that's the music that was played because it was my birthday, despite my parents or my friends can't stand it. Right? You can use liking, disliking language. Describe a park or garden in your city. You can use your place language. Is it a tranquil atmosphere? Is there a lot of hustle and bustle in the cafe? You might have some things in the park. You could use some things language. Activities. Maybe there's some activities in the park. Maybe you've prepared to talk about swimming and you could talk about swimming in the park. Even the park you're talking about doesn't have a swimming pool. You could invent one, although you better not say the park name. So like for instance, if you're living in Ho Chi Minh City, and I've been there, but maybe there's a public swimming pool. If you name the it's not public swimming pool. If you name the park and then the examiner's been there and then you're talking about the swimming pool, the examiner's going to think, eh? And what you're talking about, Willis? So yeah, be careful. Just give it a fake name. Describe a painting, and so pick carefully. Don't pick the Mona Lisa if you don't actually know how to talk about it. You can use the word genre because you could talk about the type of painting style. Maybe it's Renaissance. Some of you might not be big fans of painting. This could be another stinky topic. It might be one you have to think about and plan before you go into the test room. I would struggle a little bit with this, but I think I could pull it off. I might pick something like the Mona Lisa, and I would just plan it out during my 1 minute. I'd come up with 3 things that I'm going to say about the painting. You know, what's special about it. I don't really know. I've seen it. It's not my favorite actually. You know what? I'd probably make up a Here's what I'd probably suggest for this one. If you don't really have a famous painting, just make up a painting based off a photo. So think of a photo you like, but now it's a painting, and describe the people, the places, then what's happening in the picture. That's probably the best way. Describe a foreigner who speaks your language well. Now be careful with this word foreigner. If I'm in Vietnam, I'm a foreigner, right? But if you come to Australia, you're the foreigner. So just be kind of careful how you use the word foreigner, because sometimes people they just kind of misuse it. They just assume, well, I'm Vietnamese, so if I go to Australia, everyone's a foreigner, or whatever. You're not a foreigner if you live there, but if you're just going there as a holiday, if you don't know how to pronounce the names of common place names, you might just be a foreigner. That could be like a series of jokes, right? So I've said enough about Vietnam. If I went to India, I bet the way I would say a lot of the place names is wrong, right? So I would stand out as a foreigner. What other jokes could we make about you might be a foreigner? India, if you can't eat the spicy curries, you might be a foreigner. If you need to go to the bathroom more than 5 times a day, you might be a foreigner. I like Indian food. It's delicious. It's arguably one of the best in the world. And I know some other cultures now, like, oh no, it's not Indian food, it's Chinese or Vietnamese or Thai or whatever. I think Indian's arguably one of the best foods, but it depends who you are and what you like. Not sure why I'm talking about food, but well, it actually could come up on this topic. He speaks the language terrific. It's fantastic. He can even order food in a restaurant in the local language. That's great, right? He can customize it. He can ask for it to be extra spicy because he likes that. He likes really spicy food. And then back to language. You're all learning a language. You must have some vocabulary to do with language. So this is the thing, right? You already got the language. Make sure you use language related to language related to language. That's what it is. So, fluency and coherence, pronunciation, lexical resource, intonation, and for this topic you could be describing the person. You could be telling why you think he speaks the language well. Often a good sign of what's the word I'm looking for? Acquisition of a language. They say we get language rather than learning it. Often the sign of good language acquisition, of high level of competency in a language, is being able to make jokes in that language. So if you can tell jokes in English, your English is relatively high, especially like when somebody says something and you can quickly come up with a response. That's called wit. It's sort of intelligent, quick humor is called wit. And so if you're witty, if you can be witty in English, my name's Watty, if you can be witty and not Watty, don't be me, be witty, then you might be able to speak English well. And the other one's arguing. If you can argue in a language, you've probably got a high level of competency in that language. And let's just say that arguing, you could just paint a scene, you could tell a story, and stories are always wonderful. It's great for your fluency. They have beginnings, middle, and end. How did the argument start? What happened next? How did it get resolved? This one looks a little bit stinky to me. Describe someone you don't know but would like to know more about. It's often hard to talk about people you don't know, right? Because you often don't know a lot about them. You don't know them, so you don't know a lot about them. I would think it's probably better to pick someone famous, right? Because if you pick like your neighbour, you don't know him. Well, how are you going to talk about him? How are you going to describe what he looks like? And maybe you've seen him in passing. Maybe you can describe him, but how are you going to describe the personality if you don't really know the person? So I'd be inclined to go for someone famous, a movie star, Elon Musk. Maybe he's kind of interesting. I'd like to know more about him. I think he's South African, and he runs so many businesses. I can't imagine running one business like he does, and he does a bunch. How does he balance it all? How's his time management? How does he have time for sleep? Why would you even want to do that if you've got billions of dollars? Why would you just want to work all the time? If you're interested in space, then do that. If you're interested in electric cars, do that. He does it all. I don't know how he does it, and even the Twitter. So that could be an interesting person. And if you did pick Elon Musk, then you could talk about his different ventures. Gosh, you just couldn't run out of things to say. Well, you do have to focus on the want to know more about. So one way could be to sort of say who the person is, why you want to know more about them, what is it that you're interested in, maybe get more specific. What in particular would you like to know about Elon Musk? I'd like to know what he has for breakfast, right? Because he must wake up and presumably he'd be tired because he wouldn't get a lot of sleep, but he has to switch on and start being productive quickly each day. So I'd like to know, what does he have for breakfast, and in particular, what beverage does he drink? Coffee. If it's coffee, I was going to say you can use the coffee language, but this is going to be more about saying, like normally you're describing someone you know, so you'd be telling what sort of coffee he drinks. This would be more like, I wonder what beverage he drinks for breakfast, and you could still use the language. I wonder if he drinks like cappuccinos. I can imagine he's a cappuccino drinker. I bet he drinks a cappuccino out of a long glass. I'd really like to know that. Tall glass. Yeah, tall glass. Long shot of espresso, but in a tall glass. I bet that's what he has, and I bet he has something unusual in it. I bet he adds like a twist of lime or something, and I bet he doesn't make it. I bet he has a minion to make it for him. Remember those minions? There's a movie about them. But that's a tough question, because if you pick the wrong person, it's tough to describe someone you don't know. Another option is pick someone you do actually know well and pretend you don't know them. Like, actually you know the neighbour next door really well, but you pretend you don't, or you say you don't, and then you say why you'd like to know more about him, right? Or her. It could be a lady, or it could be a they, right? It could be they. I'd like to know more about they. Z. I heard Z the other day, pronoun. And I heard a joke. I think it's time for a joke. Make the video more interesting. So what is the joke? Let me just try and think about it. Oh yeah, it's somebody learning English, and he's complaining, about the pronouns in English. It's like, I drink coffee, he drinks coffee. Why is it drinks? Does he drink more coffee than me? Is that it? Or maybe like, I run a long way, he runs a long way. Why is it runs? Does he run more than me? So that was the joke. It's kind of funny. And then of course, it must be horrible learning English now, because they're changing the language, right? We're having new pronouns come in, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but it makes it challenging for a English learner. You know he, she, and it, and now you've got to deal with Z and they as a singular pronoun, right? When we don't want to specify he or she, they're saying they are saying now, they plural are saying that for a singular person we can use the pronoun they. Well, that throws out a whole lot of grammar rules, right? Instead of it being he drinks a lot, it'll be they. And then what's the verb going to be? Is it going to be they drinks a lot, or they drink a lot? I mean, that's a problem as well. There's a quandary, a difficult situation involved here. Okay, that was interesting. Back on to the next question. Describe a person who likes to cook for others. So you can definitely describe the person. You can talk about what they cook, right? And maybe you got some cooking vocabulary, aroma for the smell of the food, and cuisine, the style of food. French cuisine. Oh, we were talking about best foods in the world. French has got to be up there too, right? What are the best foods? If you've got an opinion, put it in the comments below. See if other people agree with you. I bet there'll be someone who doesn't agree with you. I'm originally from New Zealand. I wouldn't say that New Zealand food is the most delicious. Traditional New Zealand food, it's nice. It's called a hangi, and basically you dig a hole in the ground, make a fire, wrap your food in, let the fire down. I think there's stones in there. Put your food in leaves down, so it's going to be under the ground. It gets covered. Basically all the food is steamed, and it can be really, really nice when it's done properly, right? So imagine you got your meat and your vegetables and your maybe potatoes, and we have sweet potato kumara, as well. And like, imagine the pork taste going all through your vegetables and potatoes and sweet potatoes. Wow, it can be fantastic, actually, thinking about it. But I wouldn't say it's like the best food in the world or something like that. I think it's something like really interesting that you want to try, and I'd be happy to have it like once a month, but not any more than that. I wouldn't want to eat that on a daily basis. So what are the candidates? Indian food, French food, um, Chinese food, Thai food, and then what ones would we not include? English food, Australian food, New Zealand food, a lot of the Western countries. American food, I think America, I would put that in a special category. Like, if you've been to America, wow, the food's incredible. I think it's partly why Americans are big. The restaurant's incredible. So for me, American food may be just like a fusion of all different foods. You go to New York, you can eat every style of food. But then if you're stuck like strictly American food that the Americans invented, I don't even know if they invented these or popularized hot dogs, hamburgers, waffles. It's not healthy, right? So what am I saying here? I think for me the top candidates would be French, Indian, Chinese. There's my top three. Close runners up, Thai food. I do like Vietnamese food, but it wouldn't. I wouldn't say it'd be my favorite. I'd be happy to eat Vietnamese food twice a month, let's say, or so. I mean, over the course of my life, I wouldn't mind eating it every day for a week or something. And I will say it's to me is probably one of the healthiest foods. A lot of like salads and lime juice and natural flavors. One of the things I discovered about Thai food, there's a lot of sugar in it. Someone was telling me a story, because I always thought Thai food is healthy, like there's so many vegetables, but someone was telling me the other day, went to a doctor and health problems. The doctor asked, "What are you eating?" And he said, "Thai food." And the doctor said, "Okay, stop eating Thai food." And because of the sugar, and I'm not having a go at Thai food, when I order it, I usually ask for no sugar, and for me it tastes better and it's healthy, so it can be healthy. Chinese food could be unhealthy. They might chuck a whole lot of MSG in it in restaurants, but people wouldn't usually cook that way at home, right? So sometimes it's restaurant versus homegrown food. Back to Vietnamese food. I've got a lot of Vietnamese viewers. I don't want to upset them. I haven't really eaten that much Vietnamese food. I've only been to Vietnam once, so it's probably not fair because I've eaten Chinese food and Indian food a lot, and I'm happy to eat those once a week. Mexican food's not bad, but again, once or twice a month. Alright, let's continue. Describe a place in your country that you're interested in. Well, you could just pick your hometown or where you're living now and say you're interested in it. That would be fine. Or maybe a place you've been. I'd be careful about a place you haven't been. It's always difficult to talk about things that you're less familiar with, right? I wonder if I should show myself on the video more when I'm just waffling. I kind of like waffling. Do you like waffling? Like, sometimes you want to learn something and you can just have the hard, cold facts, and that's how I normally make my videos. But I'm wondering about a more free style with lots of waffling. Maybe it's more entertaining and interesting, and you're language learners. You need input, so listening to me talking is input. Anything I say is possibly helpful to you. Possibly. Because not everything is, right? Some of what I'm saying is just meaningless dribble, waffle. Waffle means when you're kind of you're speaking, your mouth's moving, but you're not really giving any valuable content, which is kind of what I'm doing now, right? I'm not doing it just to make the video longer. I'm just sitting here and freestyling. So yeah, make sure you pick the place, and then you could go into place vocabulary, and there might be other reasons why you like it. So there could be some activities, there could be people there. Your favorite place might have your favorite person, your grandfather. This is very close to the next topic. Describe a photo that makes you feel happy. These could be the same place, a place that you took a photo of. That could be the same. Photos. I think photos are an incredibly easy topic, but it's been in the test in the past, and sometimes candidates struggle. And why do they struggle? Sometimes when you've got too many choices, it's a problem. So it's like photo, and if you haven't thought about this question before you go in the test, my seat needs to go up. It's either my seat needs to go up or my camera goes down. If you haven't thought about it, then you might just be like, oh, should I pick this photo or that one? So you got hundreds. There's too many choices. It's like when you go into a restaurant and the menu has 100 things on it, and you flick through and you can't think what to have. If it only has 10 on one page, easier to do. So you're going to have to pick a photo, and I would recommend a photo with lots in it, like maybe a place, a person, maybe a thing, maybe an event, maybe it's a birthday party. And I think there was a question up about a party, wasn't there? So you could pick a photo, and I really like it when one topic just recycles elements of another topic. And then okay, I've said before, you don't need to worry about this stuff, right? But if you're trying to get to higher level bands, it's not just describe a photo, right? That's not the whole topic. It makes you feel happy. So you do need to address this. You need to address all parts of the sentence. So the key point here is that you need to focus on this, but every word. Don't just miss something out. Don't just describe a photo, especially it's an unhappy one, a funeral. But you don't need to do this, but you can look there for ideas. Okay. And you might even tell a little story. It might be a birthday party, and there might be a reason why you feel so happy on this day, not just because it's your birthday, but maybe it's a surprise party. And you could tell a story about how you woke up that morning, you felt kind of depressed because it's your birthday, and you felt a year older, and you really weren't looking forward to the day. And then you get to the middle part of the story, ding, surprise, and oh, hello, and lots of guests, and you feel so happy. And then maybe the end of the story could be saying goodbye to everybody, or describing your feeling at the end of the day, how how the day started off kind of blue but ended up, what's high level language for like happy? Let's making you feel ecstatic. Right click. Oh, I'm on my website. I can't right click. If it's a Word document, I right click. Over the moon. There you go, over the moon, or in high spirits. Over the moon, really happy, and high spirits, happy. Okay, we've solved that one. This one could be horrible too. Another potential stinky topic. Describe a rule that is important in your school, or at work. Make sure you're making the L sound. I got a lot of students that say skun, n. There's no n. It's l, like school. So describe a rule that's important in your school or at work. So this is covering whether you're a student or working. If you're doing both, then you can pick, right? So this could be, like I said, another stinky one where you might sit and it might take a whole minute to come up with a rule, right? Or even worse, you just can't think of one. We don't have any rules. That's the whole point. That would be okay. Then you could just explain, well, my school doesn't have any rules. The principal doesn't believe in rules. He says it's up to you. You do what you want. You come to school when you want. If you don't want to come, that's fine. When you do come to school, you study what you want. Just you pick the teacher, pick the classroom. Wow, that's actually quite a good idea. Imagine that. Imagine a school like that where you just turn up and maybe there's 10 classes going, and you just pick which one you want. You want to learn about electric cars, or do you want to learn about the Renaissance? period of art. That could actually work. You know, it's coming to a home near you. It's called AI. You're going to have AI teacher in the future, and it's going to be fantastic. And I'll share with you why. It's just like skip forward if you're not interested, but actually it's fascinating. The reason why the AI is going to be such a great teacher is because the AI is going to learn about you. They're going to know what you're interested in, and they're also going to know about how you learn. Do you learn by listening, by looking, by speaking, by doing? Some people learn by doing. And then the AI is going to have knowledge of all the learning theories in existence. So they're going to be able to match you and your learning style with the best theoretical approach, and then give content that's interesting for you personally. So I think this is going to be amazing, and it's going to lead to a leap in knowledge, right? Not a change in IQ. I think the human brain stays the same till we find a way to incorporate AI chips or whatever. But you're going to be able to learn so much more effectively what you want, how you learn. So anyway, back to the rule. Maybe the rule is about AI. No AI can be used for homework. You must handwrite it. That could be an important rule because it stops plagiarizing, it stops cheating. Now if my teacher gives me a 5,000 word essay, I can go on ChatGPT and say give me a 5,000 word essay. And then the teacher might ask me about it. Well, I can just say to ChatGPT, give me a 5,000 word essay. Now, here I'm going to go back to big screen. Now I want you to give me a summary of the essay. Give me 10 bullet points. That's all I've got time for today. So I could get AI to write my 5,000 word essay, or maybe like a 100 word summary of this assignment for me to read. I'm not reading the 5,000 words. That's too much work. I'm just going to read the 100 word summary, and my homework's done in 5-10 minutes. I'm finished. Other kids took days. I did it in 5 minutes. I'm not saying that makes me smarter, right? So that could be it. Or maybe it's about lateness, about being on time, or something like that. Or maybe it's about the reuse of pronouns. We have to respect people who identify in different ways, and we must use the correct pronoun that that person has designated for themselves. I want to tell a joke, but I'm not sure it's appropriate, but I'll say it anyway. There used to be a guy called Sledgehammer, and anyway, in the 70s, 80s, still there was the women's lib movement, and women would demand, you know what, I'm going to cut this joke out. It's not funny, actually. It was funny 40 years ago. I don't think it's funny now, and I don't mean because it's inappropriate. It's just not funny anymore. So let's forget that one. But yeah, you're going to have to think of what this rule is in advance. It's too difficult. You don't want to be going into the test room and your 1 minute is just thinking about what the rule is, and then you're not sure what you're even going to say about it. The rule is you must be on time. I don't know why we have this rule or what else I can say about it, but that's it. I hope you enjoyed my talk. But if you go in and you already know what the rule is, it's going to be easier. Hopefully maybe you got some vocabulary to do with your particular situation. You could use words like strict, severe. Maybe there's punishments, or maybe not necessarily punishments, but maybe consequences, right? If you're late, well, I guess it would be a punishment. The consequence is you lose 1 hour of pay, or something like this. Or you have to work later. Describe a period of time that changed your life. I'd pick sort of like a fairly long duration of time rather than 1 day, because it says period of time. So you could pick a holiday period, a travel experience, a study experience. Try and pick something fairly meaningful, and then once you pick the time, it becomes easy. You can talk about the people that are involved, the place, how it changed your life. So remember, this part's really important. And it's another reason why you've got to be really careful about following these bullet points. Oftentimes the last one is the most important, because you've got to address how it changed your life, right? So oftentimes what happens is people give these lovely answers, when it was back when I was young and innocent, who you were with, I was with my best buddies, my besties, what happened, we had a lovely time studying maths or something, and then don't get on to why it changed your life. That's a problem, right? There used to be a topic, describe a time when a child made you laugh, and a lot of the candidates that I had in my test room would come in, I'm going to tell you the funniest story about a child. And I'd think, great, I want to hear this is going to be funny, cool. And the problem would be, there was this kid and they had an ice cream, and they don't get on to the punchline, and so I asked them to stop, and I think that wasn't funny at all. And maybe the punchline never came. The child ended up with, maybe the child went in front of a fan and the ice cream went all over their face and they started crying, and their father said he looked like an Eskimo or something. I don't know. But the point is that make sure you get the punchline in early, or you haven't fully responded to the topic. And then that's an element of risk. The examiner might think, well, you were building up to it, okay. Well, they might think, well, that wasn't funny at all. That didn't. How did that change your life? I don't get it, right? So I suggest you include this early. It could be related to this one too. Describe an activity that made you feel tired. The activity could be going camping. It could be a period of time. Right? Or it could be some other activity. We were talking about this at the start. It could link back to that part 1 topic about running. Right? Okay, so I'll leave some links in the description below. Wow, if you're still listening at this point, big thumbs up. Thanks for listening. I hope it was useful and interesting. And so the links, I think overall, for part 2, you should organize your topics thematically. You should build vocabulary for the 5 themes: the people, places, things, activities, experiences, and maybe ideas. So for instance, when we're talking about a person, we could talk about we could describe their appearance, their personality, the activities that they like doing, and just other interesting things about them. So we can organize we organize thematically, then we have thematic vocabulary, we have thematic ideas. And then the other thing I'd really be doing is, if I have time, and let me give you sort of level of priority here. Priority 1 is what activity you're going to talk about. Priority 2 is you have some vocabulary to talk about this topic. Priority 3, you've made a model answer. If you've got loads of time to prepare, you could actually have a model answer. Just when you take the test, don't make it seem like you're that well prepared. So that'd be your level of priority. And what else? I feel like organize thematically. You want vocabulary. Planning. Work on planning. How to use your 1 minute. And my 3 suggestions, I've got a video on it, linked below probably, if I remember. But 3 ways of planning. 1 is you just follow the questions in order. But I would actually say try and promote the last one up the list. But you could just cover the 4 questions, right? Another way is to tell a story, the start, middle, and end. And another way is sometimes you can sort of have 2 and 2 ideas. So I'll try and show you one. Well, maybe like this one possibly. You could have 2 ideas about describing the photo. So 2 features of the photo: the people, the places. And then you could have 2 ideas about why it makes you feel happy. It was the last time I was together with all my classmates from high school. That could be reason one. Maybe another one is it's the best meal I ever ate, a hangi in New Zealand. I do remember eating a hangi when I was a kid, and boy, it was delicious. And I don't know if it was hunger or the chef. Maybe it was the chef, but that food was delicious, I gotta say. But as I said, it's not something I'd eat all the time. Okay, enough about hangis. It's making me feel hungry. I'm sweating. Can't you see? It's hot here, actually. I have to turn the fan off when I make videos, because otherwise it gets on the microphone. Okay, so that's all I want to say about that. I might release an update, but I might not. But what I will do is, there's still some more questions emerging that I don't know yet, and when I know those, I will stick them on my website. But because I'm going on a holiday for 2 weeks and I hadn't started yet, it's unlikely I'll be making another video. And by the time I get back, it's starting to get a bit stale. So, and I've got a big project to do as well. So I think probably I won't be releasing another part 2 video, but I will put any new topics on the website. So thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next video. It might be weeks or months away.